Banks, Cody Banks.
Agent Cody Banks, and Hilary named her daughter Banks.
Cody basically takes that car for a spin. Hilary, Natalie, saves the freaking day.
Yeah, she didn't need no man.
Hey Team Duff, it's Whitt. Thanks so much for listening to Duff Enough, the ultimate Hilary Duff fan podcast. This show is a celebration of the life and career of actress, singer, mother, and all-around icon, Hilary Duff. And for this episode, I am joined by a fellow mega Hilary fan, Brandon Penny. Welcome to Duff Enough. Thanks for being on the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I am really overwhelmed and very excited.
Yes. Well, you were one of the first people to reach out to me on social media about being on. So I was like, okay, we're doing it. And I know you're a massive fan. And you sent me a picture, I think, with you and Hilary. So you've met her.
Yeah, I met her twice, actually. I was a design intern for People magazine back in 2016, and this must have been like a Friday or something. We got an email saying that somebody would be in the office on Monday filming, and then later through the grapevine, I heard that it was Younger. Thankfully, I found that out on Friday because I had the whole weekend to mentally prepare.
Right.
So that was a good thing. But yeah, come Monday, I got into the office much earlier than I normally would have because they were filming really early. And to be honest, I just wanted to, meet her if I could and say hi before I started my workday so that I could actually focus and not be so distracted all day. But yeah, they were filming on my floor, and I walked around the office and poked my head into just one of the conference rooms and, introduced myself and said hi. And she was just so sweet. So sweet. She's everything you would expect her to be. She stood up and offered to have, someone take our photo. And I just told her, thank you, and just thank you for being a good person. And yeah, that was that. And a couple weeks later, she was back in the office doing just a short segment for something unrelated. And I happened to be watching the live stream on Facebook, and I recognized the furniture they were sitting on, and I looked down the hall and I was like, oh, this is here. And I thought, Brandon, you can't not go say hi again. How often does this happen? So after she was finished, I went over and said hello again, and she remembered who I was. And that time I got an autograph, which was exciting. But this was a day or two before her birthday, and I mean, it was really quick. But all in all, it was just, I mean, that's what dreams are made of, She's just so kind and down to earth. She's just everything that, that we love about her.
Well, I'm so jealous. And that is that's,
oh my gosh.
I'm just sitting here smiling oh my gosh, but I am jealous obviously too, but.
Well, shoot. I mean, that was definitely the watered down, the tame version. My emotions were all over the place. I was texting my boyfriend and was I was just really all over the place. But I tell it very calmly now.
Right. Well, besides that, what is your fandom experience been like?
I just think I had a gut instinct from, Lizzie McGuire days and a little bit before then that she was just gonna go on to do big things, and that she was someone that I could look up to. She felt like a friend, And I just have all these movie posters saved, and I live in New York City right now, but at home in Colorado in my childhood bedroom, I have the movie posters. After I'd go see Cheaper by the Dozen, I'd stand at the box office and ask if I could have the poster. Aww. After the movie had gone, and just all the magazines and CDs. It just, I think at the end of the day, it's just feel good. You find things that make you feel good, and you gravitate towards them, and that was her music and her movies for me. And just, I don't know, just kind of go along for that ride and really grow up with someone like that.
Yeah. My room was basically Hilary Duff themed at one point, so.
I'm surprised mine isn't now, but.
Right. Yeah. It's weird for me to realize people that I know or that I meet just associate me with Hilary Duff, honestly.
Right? And I find that, and I'm sure you obviously get this too, but like, if any kind of Hillary news comes out, like people are like posting it on my wall or like texting it to me, and it's just a given. It's like you're the first person that they think of, which is really exciting and flattering at the same time.
That happens to me too, where people will text me stuff, and I do appreciate it and I love it. But also it's like, I knew that 10 minutes ago, but thank you.
Yeah. How do you mitigate that? I'm always just like, oh my gosh, yeah. And thinking like, I knew this, like, okay,
Yeah.
long time ago.
Right.
It's just, that's very kind.
Yeah. Well, it's great to hear a little bit about your experience being a fan. And I do have 3 questions I want to ask you to kind of measure where you are with your Hilary Duff favorites here. So, first question, what is your favorite Hilary Duff movie?
Oh, I really, really liked According to Greta.
Okay.
I mean, I love it. I love a good indie film, but I really love movies that just like mean something. Obviously that was something so different than what she had done before, or I mean, even really after. I was really impressed with her performance, and I think it was even wasn't that straight to DVD?
Yeah, it kind of wound up being that way.
Yeah, and I just remember going to grab it and just being really excited that like there was something new, So yeah, According to Greta, I think is probably my favorite. Though I think I've told you I did go see Haunting of Sharon Tate in theaters this summer. That's a whole nother level, and I'm obviously very biased, but it was really impressive.
Okay. All right. I have not seen Sharon Tate, but I do also remember like going to Target and getting the According to Greta DVD. And it had been such a long wait.
Yes.
And it was so like highly anticipated by the fans because it was so different. But yeah, I love her in that. And that's totally a fan favorite. But it's not one everybody knows about, but people should definitely check that one out.
Oh, yeah, totally.
All right. Next question. What is your favorite Hilary Duff song?
I'm going to have to say Holiday from Best Of. I feel like it was in the Dignity era-ish, shortly after. But I really like Holiday. My favorite part is the bridge of that song. Her singles are obviously fantastic. 54 Below did a Broadway Sings Hilary Duff.
Did you go to that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I went, and it was a treat. They sang, her popular singles, but it's just crazy to hear it in such a different way.
Yeah. I just want to say, though, Holiday, great choice. I mean, another like under the radar song of hers, but it's so good and way ahead of its time.
Whitt, like her whole catalog is just so ahead of its time. And I feel like because of that, it's at times underappreciated.
It's underrated, but at the same time, I'm like, people who actually know it, they're like, oh, yeah, this is good.
Oh, yeah. And those are the people that matter.
Right. The fans, Team Duff.
Sorry.
And last question here for a get to know you kind of thing. What is your favorite Lizzie McGuire episode?
I think it's called the I've Got Rhythmic episode. I think it was like season 1.
Yes.
Lizzie definitely, isn't very coordinated and has her clumsy moments, but I loved the episode where they were like, yeah, but she's got rhythm. She can twirl a baton and, ribbon and all that. And I would have to assume that was written in because Hilary herself is a bit of a gymnast and like, had those moves in her arsenal, like did her own stunts and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I think probably that one. I thought that was a really standout moment for Lizzie, for sure, in a lot of different ways. She was definitely not very extroverted, and to see her like perform in that manner was exciting.
Great episode, and I totally had a hula hoop and pretended to be her, basically. So, and a ribbon.
That's a lot harder than it looks. Yeah, for sure.
Although I have never heard of like rhythmic gymnastics. I've never ever heard of that.
I mean, again, ahead of its time.
Yeah, definitely.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy our silver screen queen. It's time for Block Duffster.
So for today's episode, we are going to be talking about Agent Cody Banks. And this movie, I had honestly forgotten how much I liked it. And I went back to my parents' house and got my DVD copy.
Okay.
Which I actually remembered I got as like a birthday present that year, 2003. It was released in theaters on March 14th, 2003, and I actually didn't see it in theaters. So I didn't see it till I got the DVD for my birthday.
I do remember seeing it in theaters. I guess what I remember most was like the promotional, like, not necessarily the like poster, but just the stills.
Well, I wrote down about the tagline, which I love. It's like, save the world, get the girl, pass math. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Because it's very much like they promoted it as like a teen James Bond.
Yes.
Basically. I was thinking about how that time period, there were a lot of those teen spy movies. I mean, we had Spy Kids, Kim Possible. Yep. So that was very much what was going on in pop culture for teen movies at that time.
That's so true.
And this was released by MGM, and it was also Hilary's big screen debut, which is crazy.
That's right. I was trying to think back to like Frankie guest starred on Lizzie.
He did, yes. Yeah, so Frankie Muniz, of course, is the star of this, and Hilary's a supporting character, but at the same time, she has a really big role in this, and I didn't even realize how big. Frankie was in the middle of his Malcolm in the Middle success at this time and fame, and Hilary, of course, was coming off Lizzie McGuire, or really, she was in the middle of that fame, too. So it was kind of a great match to have them as the leading characters. And, you know, I said teen James Bond. Hilary was essentially the Bond girl, but maybe even more so because her character is so important to like the plot here. But yeah.
This was right before Metamorphosis hadn't come out yet.
No. And right before the Lizzie McGuire movie.
It's just so crazy. I love going back and like watching something or listening to something and thinking like they didn't even know.
Right.
Like they didn't even know that like Metamorphosis was going to be what it was, that the Lizzie McGuire movie was going to have a cult following. Like she didn't even know.
Oh, no. Of course, she and Frankie did date at that time. I wanted to mention that. So they had like a fling. It was like in between her Aaron Carter dating moments.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they had a thing. Agent Cody Banks, it did get mixed reviews. It's a teen flick. I don't know, that doesn't really even matter to me, honestly. And it had a number 2 box office debut behind Bringing Down the House, starring Steve Martin and Queen Latifah. So that was pretty good. $58.8 million at the worldwide box office, so almost $59 million, and made like 3 times its budget, I believe. So
wow.
It was a success. It was a big hit. Interesting to note, executive producers on this movie, Madonna and Jason Alexander from Seinfeld. Like, what? And I had to look it up. I know, but like Madonna's production company did this movie, so that's why, executive producer, but
sure.
But like still, that was wild to me. And I know like Madonna has been a supporter of Hilary through the years, like she said things and Material Girls later on and all that.
Right.
Yeah. It was so successful that they had a sequel the following year, 2004, Agent Cody Banks, Destination London. Hilary wasn't in it. I did see that like one time, I want to say, not in the theaters, just like a DVD copy at some point. Yeah, I didn't really care for it. Obviously, like, Hilary wasn't in it and just didn't really love it. But again, that just shows the success of the first movie, that they made a sequel that also went to theaters. So jumping in here and talking about the cast, of course, we have Frankie Muniz as Cody Banks. Hilary, she plays Natalie Conners. And then we have Angie Harmon as Veronica. And she was known at that time for Law and Order. She went on to star in a show more recently, Rizzoli and Isles, which is really popular. Keith David, huge movie star. He plays the CIA director in this. Ian McShane as the villain. Dr. Brinkman, I'm probably just going to call him the bad guy during this episode. Martin Donovan plays Dr. Conners, so he plays Hilary's dad. Daniel Roebuck is Mr. Banks, so Cody's dad. And if anyone grew up, where do you know him from?
Yeah.
Well, okay. I would say like our generation knows him from the DCOM Quince with Kimberly J. Brown.
I was like, as I was watching that, of course I looked him up on IMDb, but I guess I didn't go far back enough, but he has just got such a recognizable face, and that makes so much sense. Thank you.
Right, yeah. But also, I feel like if anyone grew up watching the show Matlock with their grandparents, he was also on that show, and I grew up watching that with my grandparents, so.
Yeah.
Cynthia Stevenson is Cody's mom, and I remembered her from the Air Bud movies. She also plays the mom in most of those movies. And then the little brother, Connor widows. And also Daryl Hammond is in this. He's an SNL alum, and he plays like the gadget guy. Jumping into the story of Agent Cody Banks, so this is a film about a kid who went through a summer camp program that the CIA put on for teenagers. Cody's our main character, and he went to that camp. And at the beginning of the movie, we see that he's just like a normal kid, and he's got chores. We see that he doesn't really want to do them, so very relatable. Our first little inkling that he might have a little bit of secret agent training here. Start of the movie, a kid gets left in the car while his mom is like walking across the street to the mailbox.
Yes.
And the kid crawls up into the front seat, messes with the gear shift, and the car starts, going backwards down this hill. Cody is actually going by on a skateboard, and the mom, of course, is like freaking out and chasing after the car. Well, Cody goes into rescue mode here, and as this car is just traveling through traffic, Cody manages to like climb on top of it and stick his hand through like the rooftop window and, stop the car and save the kid. But yeah, and then he just kind of like sneaks off, and it's very much superhero kind of situation there. And it's like, okay, so this guy's a secret agent, has some secret agent training or something. So that's our introduction to Cody. Then we meet Dr. Conners, and we are seeing, this science lab, and we see the bad guys. And so the nanobots, that's his creation, and they're meant to eat oil that gets spilled into the ocean. But the bad guys, they have like their own agenda for the nanobots, and they're called the ERIS. And so, yeah, we see we see the villains, and we see what's going down here as far as what mission will be set up for Cody. Jump over to the CIA for a second, because they are worried about these nanobots too, because they think that they could be used to destroy military weapons. Ooh. And their mission is going to be to use Cody to get close to Dr. Conners' daughter. And apparently he's like been a recluse since his wife died, and his only contact is his daughter Natalie, played by our girl Hilary Duff. And the CIA wants to use Cody to get close to Natalie. And I thought it was funny how they note that Cody is like a ladies' man, or that's what they found in his records. And like we immediately cut to a shot where he's talking to a girl at his school, and it's just not going well.
Yeah, no, it's they were misinformed.
Yeah. And we learned that he like lied on his papers or whatever. So at Cody's school, he's like kind of bullied, and in the locker room, Veronica shows up, and she's with the CIA. And we got to talk about her entrance, okay? I mean, they went full on like cleavage, like
that was giving me very like "Oops, I Did It Again" vibes.
It was
sure.
I
mean, all it was missing was the song, but like, yeah, they really they played it up, and like adolescent boys' locker room, she just waltzes in there like nothing.
Mm-hmm. And did you notice the song that was playing, Hot in Here by Nelly?
Right. Racy.
And like the kids in the locker were like flirting with her, and it was just, I don't know. That was pushing the PG rating there for sure.
Yeah.
I love the introduction between her and Cody though, because he's like, "Who are you?" And then we get this code talk between them, which was so funny for me. She goes, "Mary had a little lamb." And then it's just like light bulb in his head. And he says,
Yep.
"Peter Piper picked it," all that. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And then she's like, bubblegum in a dish. So anyway, it goes to show you
Very
like
clever.
very teen kid focused, they knew their audience.
Yeah.
And I love how she like claps back at all the guys that are like, basically catcalling her in the locker room. And that's another scene that honestly, it probably wouldn't happen today.
Oh, no. It's just very straightforward.
She takes Cody to the CIA, and he is super excited and super confident until he finds out what his mission is going to be. His first task is to actually get invited to Natalie's birthday party. And they're gonna put him in her school, and he's gonna be in all her classes. And he tells his parents that he got a scholarship. Yeah, to a prep school.
What,
So,
a prep middle school?
yeah.
Okay.
And like Veronica shows up at their house pretending to be the like school administrator. I was just like, oh my
Oh,
gosh.
so good. Oh, the best part of that I loved when they're like, "Do you have any paperwork?" And she hands them a pamphlet, and it's just like a photo, some stock photo of some school. And I was like, yeah, that would definitely sell my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a beautiful photo of a school, but no identification or like records. Okay.
Right. Yep. Moving on to the part where we actually see Hilary coming in here. He goes to the school, he sees Natalie, and there's like this whole like sequence with music playing and it's kind of slow motion. And I wanted to mention that like I love the fact that in this movie, Hilary is the popular pretty girl. She's still a nice girl. Still nice.
Yes.
But in a lot of her bigger movies, she's made out to be kind of the dorky, not pretty girl, which is just not the case. I mean,
No.
Cinderella story, Lizzie McGuire, like Hilary would be the most popular girl in school.
Yes. Easy.
So I thought that was nice. And definitely not something I thought about as a kid.
I mean, it was just nice to see her portrayed as like all of those things. Like, yeah, you can be the popular and the pretty and the nice. Like, you can be all those things. And I feel like on television, even still today, a lot of the times that is not the case. You don't get to be all three.
At first, she's not really mean, but she is kind of dismissive of Cody. She's like, what? And there's a line here, which would definitely not work today. And I want to lead up to it. The first interaction between Cody and Natalie goes down a little like this. So she's holding some books and he's like, are those books? And she's like, yeah, you came to the right place because he says he loves books. And she's like, well, you came to the right place. Obviously, it's a school. So it's just not going well. And the CIA had told him that Natalie likes T.S. Eliot. And so he's like, I love T.S. Eliot. And he refers to T.S. Eliot as a she. And then Natalie's like, T.S. Eliot is a man. And then we get the question that I'm talking about here where she's like, are you in special ed? And I was just like, oh no.
Yeah.
And so that was a line where I was like, oh, well, that wouldn't be working now.
She wasn't the first one to say that in the film.
Yeah, no, another girl did. You're right.
Yep. When he was trying to flirt with someone and it wasn't happening, she asked the same thing. And I was like, okay.
Well, I read on IMDb that actually in the DVD copy of the movie, they did put a little sleeve or something inside that apologized for it. I didn't see that. Yeah, I didn't see that in my DVD. But if it was in there as a kid, it was just taken out at some point.
That is fascinating.
Yeah. So it was even something that they realized back in 2003. So,
I mean, good on them. Okay.
Yeah. Next is the driver's ed scene. And this scene, so good.
Great.
Yeah. And so we have the teacher, Mr. Yip. It's Natalie and Cody. They're in the same classes. So they are partners in driver's ed. Flashback to driver's ed classes in high school, for sure here. Natalie completely fails and she hits all the cones in the parking lot and she's terrible. Cody, when he gets in the driver's seat, he actually burns off the brake pedal for Mr. Yip, because when you're in the driver's ed car, like in high school, or you had the pedals, but also the teacher had a brake pedal.
That's what he did?
Yes.
I did not. I mean, I remember him, soldering something down there, but I was like, I didn't catch on. I didn't realize that's what was. Oh.
He had a little gadget and burned that off, so yeah.
Sneaky.
Cody basically takes that car for a spin. I mean, he just pedal to the metal.
That is putting it lightly for a spin.
Yeah. I don't know what that thing was that he drove up against, but the car ends up, driving on its side basically at one point. It was wild. And here's something I noticed. While they were driving around like that, Natalie, she's smiling and she really likes it. But when the car stops and her friends run over, she acts like she doesn't like it. And she's like, I don't feel so good, And it's just like, oh, come on, Natalie. Don't give in to peer pressure and act differently. So Natalie runs off and Cody kind of feels bad. Mr. Yip actually throws up after he gets out of this car situation with Cody, which so gross. He has the vomit on his chin and on his shirt, and I was just like, ugh.
Yeah, they did not shy away from that.
Yeah, gross. The CIA actually does pull him aside to make him pass Cody so that he can get his license. So I thought that was funny.
I mean, if only we all had the CIA to pull our driving instructors aside to be like, excuse this.
Yeah, but that scene definitely took me back to driver's ed, took me back to my driving test, all that stuff. So in the next part, the CIA, they want Cody to ask Natalie out on a date. And, he's saying, oh, but I have my homework. He's making excuses. I have my chores. And then they're like, we'll do your homework. We'll do your chores. Okay. Now that's when I need the CIA.
Still today, like I get home and I'm like, oh, I gotta put my laundry away.
Listen, I hate laundry. Well, grocery shopping is my least favorite thing, but yes.
My least favorite is probably, I think, after the clothes are clean. I have a washer dryer in my apartment now, but before I didn't, and I'm totally fine, like walking it there, putting in the wash and then putting it in the dryer and walking it back. But the moment, like, it's done, I just, this wave of like exhaustion comes over me, and nothing can bring me back. If anything the CIA can do for me, it is that.
Yeah, I'm going to sound super lazy, but like sometimes I will go a couple of days with just grabbing my laundry, like one thing at a time when I need it out of the dryer, just being too lazy to take everything out. So,
that's what what is that? The fluff cycle, the wrinkle release. That's what I'm thinking of, the wrinkle release cycle. Just a quick 3 minutes and you're good.
So the CIA does do all his homework and his chores, and then he has to use his house phone to call Natalie. She answers, he panics, and he hangs up. And at that point, the CIA knows, okay, this guy, not a ladies' man at all.
Yeah, not good.
There is this really weird sequence following that where they bring in people to try and teach Cody about girls. This was so strange to me. They had these different people. It was weird.
I was uncomfortable.
Yeah, same. Especially
fair.
like the little diagram model thing. Oh, I was like, what the heck is happening?
No.
Things pick up a little bit, though, between Natalie and Cody here in a second. So back at school, Natalie is on a ladder and she's trying to hang a homecoming banner. And she falls, but Cody runs over and saves her. And he actually just kind of picks up the banner and she slides down the banner. She does hurt her ankle or something.
Yes.
So Cody winds up going to the nurse's office with Natalie, and that's when they kind of hit it off. Like, she kind of starts to see that maybe he's not so weird, or she says something about, like, he makes a bad first impression and a second impression, but the third time, not so bad. And then she invites him to her birthday party, which is exactly what he wanted. It was going to be Las Vegas themed, which I loved. I do want to mention that Veronica actually comes back in to the nurse's office pretending to be the nurse, just to kind of push things along. Cody had already landed the invite by the time she got there.
Less so push, more shove things along for sure. They're all done and fine, and so that is an awkward moment for everyone involved.
She had that whole outfit though. She had the little hat, little nurse's hat,
And how fast did that happen? She tackles the nurse in the hallway and 3 seconds later walks in the door and her hair is perfect and whatnot. I love movie magic.
Yeah, movie magic for sure. Cut to the party. He gets a cool car to drive to the birthday party. And when he gets to the gate, the security, asks for identification or whatever. And he's like, Banks, Cody Banks. Reference to James Bond, of course. So they had to throw it in there.
Yes.
Once he's inside the party, he gives Natalie a present, and it's a necklace. And it actually has a tracking device on it. And that's when she has the curls and the black dress and she's looking really nice.
So that really kind of drove me crazy when he presents her with the necklace and she's like, put it on. And he they're facing each other and he tries to do it that way. And I'm thinking no, Hilary, turn around.
Yeah.
Let's do this right. But also just a sign of the awkwardness between the two. And yeah. Very, very sweet.
Also, their relationship was not far enough along for him to be giving her a necklace, but bold move, Cody Banks.
Bold.
That's the setup of the party. But then Cody goes all secret agent. And Natalie's dad shows up with the bad guy and the henchman. And they're in his lab in the house. And he's demonstrating those nanobots. And the bad guys at this point tell Dr. Conners what the real plan is. And they're going to destroy U.S. military missiles with these things. And Dr. Conners is saying no, that wasn't part of the deal and whatnot, but they're going to, make him do it or whatever. So we're back to the secret agentness of it all at this point.
Basically for the rest of the film, I feel from here on out, it's very Yeah, James Bond Mission Impossible.
Yeah, for sure. Like the first part is more him in school, and then yeah, you're definitely right. Cody is, going through the vents and like spying on them, and he even steals a sample of the nanobots when they like walk away, but he sets off the alarm. Thankfully he escapes. But he blows his cover because those bullies come after him at the party. Some bullies come after him and he fights them off. It impresses Natalie, but also the bad guys notice and they pick up on the fact that he's from the CIA because he's so like well trained, I guess. And so then they pull him off the mission.
Yeah, because he makes the newspaper.
Well, I noticed it was the school newspaper or something.
Oh.
But still.
Okay, yeah, but still.
But that was enough to make the CIA take him off the mission. So
I mean, nowadays that sort of thing would have been all over Twitter and gone viral. And
yeah. So he's off the mission. He also has to stay away from Natalie, which at this point he like has feelings for her. So it's just not what he wants to do. And Natalie has feelings for him too. She shows up at his house. And I love this part because she walks in and Cody's family is in shock. And his dad goes, "That was a girl." And then the little brother goes, "A hot girl."
yes. Yeah, it was very just like family comedy friendly moment
Right.
for sure.
Cody actually sneaks her out of the house, out of the back of the house, because he's worried that, the CIA is watching and that sort of thing. And they go for an ice cream date, which, okay. And they have pistachio ice cream because that is Natalie's favorite. And Cody was informed of that by the CIA, so he has it too. And she's like, "Oh, we like the same ice cream." While they're on this date, the henchman shows up at the restaurant, though, and he's pretending to be their waiter, and he, like, brings them their food. Okay, now this part made me laugh so hard. Like, full-on action scene breaks out at this point. But they're running away from him. The waitress trips the henchman, and she, like, does this thing where she's like, "Yes!" And I loved that. It was so random, but it was funny.
She got her 15 seconds of fame.
Yeah, she had her moment. Natalie is very confused as to what's going on, and Cody's like, "Your dad got involved with some nasty people, and the bad guys, they take Natalie." Also, I love Hilary fighting back, trying not to get in that car. I was like, "Yes, girl, you fight."
She fights hard, and then I love you just hear like the scream and then the door close.
Yeah, and she had some pink tennis shoes there that she was rocking, so.
You gotta get places in style.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Cody gets knocked out in the kitchen of the restaurant, and then he wakes up and the CIA has, taken him back home, and he gets grounded for being out so late and all this stuff. But he's now ready to go save Natalie. His GPS device or whatever tells him where Natalie is, and she's like on some sort of, I don't know, facility palace in the snow mountains or something.
Okay, two things. I thought when they got separated, it took me a second, but then I was like, oh, the necklace, the tracking device.
Right.
And then also, the movie takes place in Seattle, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was just like, okay, where are we now? Where we so far away?
Well, he had to fly somewhere, and he like sneaks into the CIA and gets them to take him, on a plane or whatever. So just a great setting for like a spy movie and action at the end.
Oh yeah, and at the end with just all of the fire and explosions. You got to be somewhere exotic-ish.
Great job to the location scouting people there. I love his snowboarding with a jetpack. That was great. He does get stuck in a tree, and Veronica comes to help him. And they're going to go rescue Natalie, saving Hilary Duff. Like, again, she was so important to this movie, even though, not the top billing, but she was really important.
Oh, yeah.
They get into the compound, facility, place, or whatever, and they realize that the bad guys are going to use ice cubes to distribute the nanobots. So they've like frozen the nanobots. And Natalie is being held captive in a snow globe looking thing. It's not really a snow globe, but it's a thing. Cody goes inside there to save her, and she actually doesn't want to go with him until she knows what's going on. You can't blame her.
Oh yeah. Can you imagine? She was just on a pistachio date and gets kidnapped, and she's like, "No, tell me what's going on."
Right. He runs in there and he like jumps over this couch and he's down on one knee in front of her, hiding from the security camera. And she's like, "You're not going to propose to me, are you?" And he's like, "No, I'm hiding from the camera." And I was just like, oh my gosh. But anyway, Cody tells her the truth. At first, she kind of thinks that he's used her this whole time, but she honestly doesn't seem that mad about it. I mean, I think she's still like so confused.
Yeah. It's a
But,
lot to take in.
oh yeah. He says that this was originally his mission, his assignment, but now he actually likes her. And it's just like, aw. And she kind of smiles. And Veronica comes in, and great line from Hilary here. And she's like, Cody, what is the school nurse doing here?
Yes.
Yeah, so I like that. They do get caught trying to escape, and Cody gets away, though. And meanwhile, the bad guy takes Natalie, and he puts one of those ice cubes on her forehead to, like, melt it. And he's doing that to, like, get her dad, Dr. Conners, who's also
To
there.
work faster.
Yeah, to, like, program this remote or something. I didn't honestly catch all the details, but they're trying to do bad guy things.
It was all happening very fast.
Right.
And the ice was melting.
The ice was melting. That was so dramatic.
It was. Oh my gosh. I had to like pause and then rewind to just like, because those were some serious close-up shots of just Hilary's face and, the water melting on it. I was like, okay,
Yep.
we're here.
And at this point, she has on that great white jacket that I love.
Yes. Oh, yes.
It's like a ski jacket, but it was great. She looked great.
But fashion. Skiing, but fashion.
Right, but make it fashion. Cody reappears at this point, and he's like, I'm going to set off some bombs, which he does, and the place starts blowing up. And Natalie gets away, and this is Hilary's moment right here in this whole movie. I mean, Natalie saves the freaking day, and she grabs the ice cube, and she walks over to the bad guy, and she shoves it into his mouth. And can we just, we need to dissect this a little bit, because her walk to the bad guy.
Oh, it's very purposeful.
Oh my gosh, the power that she was giving off right then. Hilary. This is why I love her.
Yeah, she didn't need no man.
No.
She can do it.
Yes. Her smile after she does that too, she is so happy that she just, got this guy. And he starts shriveling up. It's kind of gross. But anyway.
Oh my gosh, yeah. He melts, right?
Basically.
From what I remember about this, I mean, at the end here is, you've got that timer's going off, right?
Right, yeah. Cody set a timer on a bomb to blow the whole place up.
Yes. And I love, and I mean, it did not disappoint here, but I love in movies when you've got a timer set for 5 minutes, right? Because time's running out. And then 15 minutes later, you've still got 3 minutes left. And then, 30 minutes later, you got a minute left. And it's who's keeping track of time here? But still, movie magic, suspension of disbelief.
Right.
Got it.
Exactly. But it was a nice little action-packed ending.
You've got the fire, you've got the broken glass. I mean, you've got everyone's safety at stake there.
Oh yeah. Well, Cody and Natalie get on a jet ski, and they do break through this glass wall, which I was like, okay, yes, stunt. Let's do it. They end up on a helicopter, but the doors are jammed, and then Cody has to use the little ice nanobots to erode the doors. The henchman guy shows back up and fights Cody at the very end. But of course, there is a happy ending, and Cody jumps onto the side of the helicopter, and they fly off as the place is blowing up behind them. And it was epic.
That last shot is it's just a really cinematic moment there.
Truly, yeah. I love how everything kind of wraps up here at the end, too. And, originally at the start of the movie, Veronica told Cody that she was his handler, not his partner. And we didn't mention that. But Cody's like, I know, you're my handler. And then she says, partner. And I was just like, aw.
Yes. He proved himself.
He did. And the CIA director, he's like, anything you need, Cody, we got you. And so the one thing that he asks for is for Natalie to get her driver's license.
Right.
So then we see Hilary driving on the freeway, and it's just not going so well. Yeah. We end with a kiss. So
give the people what they want.
Yeah. So Hilary and Frankie had a little on-screen kiss. It was very tame, but yeah.
Yep.
And that's the end of Agent Cody Banks. Overall, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I forgot how much I liked this movie. It's a good one.
Yeah. It didn't dawn on me until midway through, and there is no way that this is actually true, but Agent Cody Banks, and Hilary named her daughter Banks. I just thought that's just a little coincidence, a fun little nod, but certainly not where it came from, but I just thought that was sweet.
I'm glad you brought that up because I almost forgot to mention that. But yeah, when she announced the name of her little girl, I think all the fans thought about that for sure.
I remember when we found out she was having a girl, people were like, if she doesn't name her Lizzie, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, Banks is just such a cutie pie.
The cutest, the sweetest.
Can't even.
Yeah. Two segments here to wrap up things today, Brandon. And the first one is a remember when. And so, do you remember when Hilary was on MTV Punk'd?
Oh my gosh, Ashton Kutcher, yeah.
Ashton Kutcher.
BJ Novak was her driving instructor.
Can you believe that?
Okay, I really don't have much sense of like time. This obviously was before The Office, but I don't know what BJ had done at that point. So I suppose Hilary didn't recognize him or know that he was someone of notoriety, but like...
Yeah, so I looked it up, and this was actually the first episode of season 2 of the show, and it premiered on October 23rd, 2003, so way before The Office and before BJ Novak was a star on that show.
Wait, also 2003?
Yes, also 2003. So this was right before Ashton and Hilary starred in Cheaper by the Dozen together. I rewatched this Punk'd episode, and... very cringy. I mean, even the beginning where Ashton is like, we're talking about how things wouldn't fly these days. He says that Hilary is one of those girls who everyone is waiting to turn 18. And I was like, oh
no.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember she was so sweet the whole time, Hilary. I mean, she was just there to like get her driver's license to learn how to drive. And BJ's like, take off your rings. Like those are a distraction. Like, you have to stop at the stop sign for 3 seconds, but like roll through it. And Hilary's like, what? No. Yeah.
Well, okay. And so just to set it up even, Hilary, she would have been 16 by the time this episode came out, but the way that it was presented was that she was still 15 at the time they filmed this, and she was just taking a driver's practice test. Like she wasn't taking the actual driver's license test. She was just practicing. So she was like a student driver. You were mentioning all the things that he had her do, but like he stops her and like makes her take off her ring, like you said, and they're staying at that stop sign and putting it in park, and the car behind them starts honking, and BJ like takes a bat and hits their car, and he gets in a fight with the other driver at one point, and then the passenger or whatever like tells Hilary to get out of the car, and Hilary leaves her purse in there, which I was like, Hilary.
Yeah.
And he steals the car. So anyway, it's kind of a mess. And then Ashton Kutcher shows up, and she's like, beating up on him because they work together at this point, and she would have known him. And so it was fun and it was cute. And I'm always skeptical of those like prank shows and stuff, but Punk'd, it was a big show. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
And it looked real. She acted well if it wasn't. So
yeah, as I'm watching that, like I started to wonder, like, does she know what's going on? But you see the camera, or like the camera's hidden in the dashboard, and like she doesn't look at it once.
Yeah. Hilary curses in this episode of Punk'd, and that was like when I was a kid, that was such a strange thing for me to hear out of her.
She was just on Disney, and that is a no-no.
I know. So that was something that I had remembered. And rewatching it, I was like, okay, well, this really wasn't that big of a deal. But at the time, I was like, oh, Hilary, how could you?
Yeah.
So she went on to star with Ashton in Cheaper by the Dozen. And this is not your trivia question, but do you know the next time or the other time that she appeared with Ashton?
I don't.
You'll remember when I say it, but she guest starred on 2.5 Men when he was on that show.
Oh my gosh. I love that scene where they're sitting at the restaurant and she's like all about her phone, and she takes out her phone to like snap a selfie.
Yes.
I always wonder what that's like, when she went to star on 2.5 Men, if she was like, hey, do you remember like I just wonder if they talk about times that they had like worked together before.
They might, yeah. Would love to be a fly on the wall. Our last segment today is called Quizzy McGuire, and it is our trivia segment. And so, yeah, do you have a trivia question for me?
Ooh, actually, I do. Can you tell me on the cover of which magazine she posed with a former flame?
A former flame?
This was February 2006.
Okay. Well, it would have been Joel Madden at that time.
Yes.
I'm not really thinking of one.
I'll give you a hint then. I mentioned earlier I designed for a certain publication.
Oh, okay.
And that certain publication had, I guess, a sister magazine at the time that has since folded.
Okay. So was it like Teen People?
Yes.
Okay. I'm looking that up right now because I'm like...
The cover was just her and Joel. It was the love issue.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's a good one.
It's one of my favorites. I remember seeing that and just thinking, again, like, just so pretty. Such pretty hair. I loved, as a designer, I was just really drawn to, like, the typography and the color and just the layout of it all. But Hilary dating Joel Madden, like, there's just so opposites attract kind of thing. And so that really sticks out.
I was just always kind of like weird about their relationship, but that is a great cover.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, my trivia question for you.
Okay.
I wanted something that was a little more challenging, I feel like, but do you know what Hilary's highest grossing box office movie is?
Oh.
I can give you multiple choice if you want it.
Let's do multiple choice.
Okay. So A, Agent Cody Banks, B, the Lizzie McGuire movie, C, Cheaper by the Dozen, or D, A Cinderella Story.
So my gut tells me Cheaper by the Dozen.
And you are correct.
Oh,
very good.
Okay.
It's on Fandango if you want to look up all her stats. But
I sure will.
Well, Brandon, this has been very fun. It's been great talking about Cody Banks and all this. And you are going to be back to talk about some of her music soon. But thanks so much for being on Duff Enough.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And that's all for this episode of Duff Enough. Thanks again for listening. I hope you'll subscribe and stick around for more because this podcast is what dreams are made of. You can follow along on social media at Duff Enough Pod and check the description for my socials as well as show guests. And until next time, bye Team Duff.